Welcome to the Savvy Giving Out podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Trilly-Smith, and today I'm thrilled to welcome Brittinie Tran to the podcast. Brittinie is the president and board chair of the Hot Mess Express mission and the host of the podcast, Girl Same. Brittinie is a proud mother of 3 and a wife living in North Carolina. She's a powerhouse who seemingly balances her roles, leading an incredible nonprofit and creating a safe, judgment-free space for honest conversations on Girl Same. Her podcast has become a destination for women to connect, share, and feel seen. But her impact goes far beyond the mic. Brittinie's journey with Hot Mess Express began from the very first mission, and in 2022, she stepped into the leadership role, helping the organization grow to over 300 chapters nationwide. Through her passion and vision, she's touched the lives of countless women, offering them a community where they can be themselves and challenge societal expectations. I can't wait to dive into Brittinie's story, hear how she's grown this nonprofit into a national force, and learn about the power of building a supportive village for women everywhere. Brittinie, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited you're here too. And I just want to start with the mission of Hot Mess Express.
Yeah, absolutely. So Hot Mess Express is all about building community and just bringing back the idea of, creating a village and having a support system. We go and help the women in our communities who are just like falling behind with the state of their home. Maybe you had something personal happen. Maybe life has just been rough lately and your house has just kind of fallen secondary to everything else. We come in with a group of volunteers and we clean and we organize and we just really try and offer a fresh start, kind of get you back on your feet.
I love that mission so much because as a mother, I can really relate to, the need to have a village and the need to have a clean space. Can you talk about your first mission and what that meant to you?
Yeah, our first mission, when we did that mission, it was one of those moments where you're like, this is going to be something. We all got together. There's about 8 of us that showed up to a woman's house. She had posted on a Facebook moms group, and she was just like, I can't afford this, but I need help. So if anybody has some like affordable options for cleaning or organizing, and a bunch of people were really quick to like offer all of these, this person and that. But, we saw there was a bigger picture there. There was something missing. She just needed support. She didn't need like a house cleaning. She needed her village. And so 8 of us got together for that first one. We brought cleaning supplies that we all had. We kind of all just showed up and we kicked her family out for the day. They went and spent a day with the kids at the park. And we cleaned the whole house. She had just had a baby. So we were organizing clothes because you know how that goes. You got to get out the old stuff and bring in the new stuff. And so we did all of that. We got dinner going in the crock pot for them. And so when she came home and we saw for that first time, like that actual weight fall off of her shoulders, it was so easy to see visually that that's when it was like that moment. You're like, this is something. So that was that first mission. And after that, we just kept going.
I love that too, that she was so vulnerable that she was able to ask for help, because I think a lot of women, they're not able to ask for help and they really need it. And then, you coming in and just making her feel safe and seen and not judged for the state of her house or the disarray that happens when we're trying to manage kids and our houses and, sometimes you're a single mom or whatever it might be. And so can you talk about what that means to go in and really be friends to these people that you're helping and make them feel seen and not judged?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest compliment we've ever gotten is when we've had people that we've helped come back and say that the person who led the mission felt like, they were best friends right off the bat. That's exactly what we're looking for. We don't just say we come without judgment. We truly mean it. And that's something that goes way beyond, the words that you say. That's how they visually, they see you, right? They see your body language. They see your facial expressions. And so, we truly mean it. We're looking at a mess that we look at our house all the time,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we all can relate to that, just feeling underwater or overwhelmed, even if we have support systems in place. So imagine if you don't have anyone there to help you. I can imagine how your organization is just a lifeline for these women. Can you talk about the growth of your organization over, I'm not even sure how long you've been in existence, since 2022. So the growth is pretty incredible.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I every week, I think I have a moment where I'm like, I cannot believe how fast this grew. But I think that speaks on the need. I think honestly that women were just waiting for something like this. We've had so many people who have found us to volunteer or start their own chapters that have said like, this is something I had like the idea in my head, but I didn't know something like this existed that I could be a part of. Or I always thought this would be such a cool concept. We just need to support women supporting women. And so I think that idea has always kind of been there. And so then once someone kind of brought it out and was like, here's kind of like the guide and you can kind of just jump in and join. It was like an instant, like, they felt it, they understood it. And it's really cool to see. It's something that I'm very shocked to see how fast it grew. But when I think about it genuinely, there's so many times before Hot Mess that I could have used Hot Mess, so.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially if you don't live in a place where you have family. I was thinking of that because my family flew in when I had kids, but I was lucky enough that was able to happen. But, some people live in places where they don't have any family or any friends. They might be new there. So if somebody wants to start a chapter or to, have a mission or do a mission for someone, how does that happen?
Yeah, so we have worked really hard this last year to really get like an onboarding process in place and really set people up to succeed. When it first started, our first mission was in 2021, and then we became a nonprofit in 2023. And that took a lot of effort and a lot of work to kind of get it to be an actual nonprofit. They don't make it easy. And in the meantime, we had a couple of videos go viral. And so when those would go viral and we didn't have the behind the scenes ready, it was just pure chaos. And then this last December, we had over 2,000 women apply across the country to start chapters in their area. And so we were like, okay, we really need to make sure we have our ducks in a row.
Yeah, that's a lot of ducks. Yeah.
It was quite a bit. And so, so all these people applied and we just really worked hard to try and build it up so that when you do join, we have next steps and we have support to offer. And the whole point of Hot Mess is like, you're not doing it alone. That's why you be a part of Hot Mess versus do something separately, is because, we're here to support each other. We have something called the Virtual Village, which is for all of our leaders and chaos coordinators, as we call them, who lead missions, where they can just chat and support each other and talk about, missions that went well or missions that were hard. So that's really like the heart of what we do, is making sure we're doing it together.
Mm-hmm. And, I love that concept, even beyond Hot Mess Express, about the importance of having a village of women and friends, because in my life, my friends are family to me. I mean, these women are the women who lift me up, support me, take care of my kids. And I think we've gotten away from the idea of a village, and women think they have to do it all. And so you started this podcast, Girl Same, to talk about that. Can you speak to the podcast?
Yeah, the whole idea of Girl Same came because I traveled or I moved around a lot. Mm-hmm. And so I never really had time to establish those long, close relationships with other women. And my family was in another state. And what I really missed out of all of it was just somebody just validating me. When you're alone and you don't have that support system, you find yourself mostly online and you're looking and comparing yourself to what you see online, which is just not reality. But even if you know that, you get so in your head about it. And you look around your house and, the laundry's not done and the toys are everywhere. And then you're looking at this picture of this beautiful house where, not a chip in the paint and all this stuff. And if you don't have other women that are like, walk into your house, see the same thing that they see in their own house, so they're not passing any judgment. And then they come to you and just tell you those stories of like, oh, I know this is hard. And I know that was rough. And I remember that, and so that's why I wanted to create it. I wanted to create a space where we could just talk and vent. And, being a woman is hard. Being a mom is hard. And you just need to hear that sometimes, that like, you're not crazy. It's just hard.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. I think especially when the kids were growing up, for me, I would see, they would ride a bike at two years old. And I'm like, oh my God, my son doesn't even want to get on the bike. Like, it was a lot. It was a lot to be able to hold myself to this standard that I saw online. And then these women around me were like, that is not real. That is not real. And, you're great and you're doing a great job, and just kind of that cheerleader mentality. I'm so excited to share today's sponsor, Vitality Bowls. Not only is it our go-to restaurant for clean, allergy-free acai bowls, smoothies, wraps, salads, paninis, and more, all made with organic granola and organic acai, but it's also an incredible franchise opportunity. With over 70 locations nationwide, Vitality Bowls offers entrepreneurs a chance to own a business that prioritizes health, quality, and community impact. Plus, Vitality Bowls is giving my listeners an exclusive discount of $1,000 off the initial franchise fee. Just email franchise@vitalitybowls.com and mention the Savvy Giving Gal podcast for more details. How do you advise women to find good women in their life, though? Because, I mean, I think that there's a skill to that.
I agree. I think one of the biggest things is, people talk about wanting a village, but the other side of that is like, you also have to be a village. Mm-hmm. And so, if you're expecting people to open up to you and be vulnerable and share their, things that they feel embarrassed about, or they might feel shame around, you have to be willing to do that as well. And because of kind of how everything has been ingrained in our brains as women, that's hard. That's hard for a lot of women. So you might have to be that person who, makes that initial kind of like real, side of them, and kind of introduce that. And that's the biggest thing, I think. So when we go on these missions for Hot Mess, any volunteer that you meet, anybody, not everybody comes like super outgoing. Not everybody has this extroverted personality. But the quickest ways to break those walls down is to just share your own struggles and your own, find the humor in it. And that's like the best way to connect with other women, I find.
Yeah, I think coming with that authentic, just open, honest, attitude is the best way, or a very quick way, to find out if these women are for you or not.
Exactly.
Not just on the mission, but in your life. If someone isn't willing to embrace you in all of your flaws, not just the good things, but the bad things, then you're on the right track with this village of women that you're creating. So, you're a busy mom of 3, you're a wife, you run this amazing organization. Like, how do you find time for your village and yourself?
Well, I'm still a work in progress.
Yeah. We all are.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Some days are better than others.
Mm-hmm.
But in general, these last few years is really the first time I've ever had a support system. I've ever had a village. And, having that it's been a slow process, but I've been really slowly able to like open up and allow myself to accept help. And that's something I struggled with for a really long time. I talk about it a lot now, but prior to the work that I've done with Hot Mess, I was in the same mental state of, I should be able to maintain my house. I should be able to stay on top of all this. I should be able to have my kids at this level. I should all these things. And then slowly with Hot Mess, exactly what I've talked about. I've had these women come to me and be like, kind of like talking about your story. When my kid didn't ride a bike till he was 10, Yeah. And then you're like, oh, okay, that makes me feel better.
Right.
And so then once they start doing that, I've been able to do that. And so for the first time ever, I've been able to really lean on people and ask for help. And that has been the key to being able to any of this. Like if I didn't have the people around me, there's no way I could balance all of this.
No. And I think we need to be really honest about that too, because it shouldn't just fall on one person. A lot of times it falls on the woman in the relationship or the mother. And that's a general stereotype, but it is usually the case. And so we need to be really honest that we're not expected, even though society sometimes tells us we are, to do everything. you know?
Absolutely. We weren't meant to do it alone. We need to shake that idea from our brain, that it's not supposed to be like, you aren't supposed to just take. You should be able to give. And that's the whole point of having women, specifically women, because they relate, they understand, and they know the need, and you don't have to explain it so much, because they're in the exact same place as you are.
Yeah, absolutely. Giving back obviously is a big part of your life. It's a big part of my life. I think that it is something that brings us together as a community. Can you talk about giving back, alongside of this village that you have?
Yeah, I think like for what we're doing, one of my favorite parts about it is that it's not just talking about something. I mean, it's a tangible thing. We're making that impact. And that's what I think makes it stand out and makes it something that I want to continue to do and move forward. I think, offering words of support is great. And yes, we do need to hear that as women. We need to hear those words. But, more so than that, we need someone to show up and do the thing. We need someone to just come over and be like, I'm just going to take care of these dishes really quick and just take that off of your plate. I'm going to take your kid out to the park for 2 hours because you are drowning. I can tell. Let me just take them and you take 2 hours. Do whatever you want. We'll be back in a couple hours. And so like those kind of actual things that you're doing, more so than the things you're talking about, that to me is what it kind of everything is about community. That's the idea of community.
Yeah, I think that we kind of sometimes feel like we have to do these big things to make big impact, but I really believe it starts with the little things. I mean, and I think that's probably why one of the main reasons of many that your organization is successful is because it starts with those little things that we all need help with. And, I think we forget that a lot of times. I think that sometimes we think we have to give a lot of money or give a lot of time, and really, you can really make a huge impact by just helping someone with their dishes or get their house organized.
Absolutely. And some of the things that we do with Hot Mess is we will go in and do this big, huge, deep, deep clean. Mm-hmm. But there's also many missions where we've done just laundry. Like we've picked up laundry, we take it to the laundromat, we bring it back folded. And it seems like such a small thing, but we've had women in tears because we took their laundry and brought it back clean and folded.
Yeah. I mean, because we've all been there where the baskets kind of just pile up and we're like, we'll do the laundry tomorrow. And then a kid gets sick or, there's so many things. And especially if you're working and then, so now you've got to go to work and you can't. So to think that would be folded and clean and put away. I mean, I could cry thinking someone doing that for me, I mean, and like you said, some of these people, they have never had help before, just like you had never had a village before. And then once you feel that connection to another human being or someone really genuinely helping you, it's like the most amazing feeling.
It is. And I talk a lot about how, maintaining your house is very similar to like living paycheck to paycheck. If you miss one paycheck, it can send everything snowballing and it can be, horrible. And it's the same with your house. If you have one day or a week where you're sick or, if your husband or your spouse or whatever or something, if you get have anything come up and you miss just a couple of days, the amount that accumulates, and it's hard sometimes. And sometimes you look at it and you're like, I don't even know where to start. Right. And it's hard to get started.
Right. And it's overwhelming. And so a lot of times we just don't do it because it becomes so overwhelming. And then, like you said, it just spirals and
out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah. Exactly. So if you were to give the listeners some tips on, next steps in terms of helping those around you in your community, what would they be?
Yeah, I think, connecting with there's so many women's groups out there and they help in so many different ways. And it's such a great way to find other women who have the same mindset. I mean, just like with Hot Mess, our organization, you come to it and you know what you're going to get. You don't have to worry about the women that you're going to meet because the women that you're going to meet, they're going to be non-judgmental. They're going to be in the same boat as you. And so kind of finding those different, groups that you connect with right away that going into it. And then you feel a little bit more comfortable kind of showing the real side of you. That's what I recommend. And I recommend, like I said, showcasing the real you and not, fighting the urge to kind of to hide behind any of that, because that's what's going to make those really deep, meaningful connections.
Yeah. Can you speak to, you've blown up on social media, obviously, but you also talk a lot about, communities and being within communities. Can you talk about like showing up on social media versus showing up, in person in a community?
Yeah, I think, like I said, there's a lot of people will offer words of support or ways to support, but there is something to be said about showing up and doing the work. And one of my favorite things about what we do is that, like, you get to see the before and after all within a couple of hours. Yeah. And it's amazing the impact that can happen with a couple of women in a few hours to show up. And we always start with a woman who is so anxious, so nervous. We hear a lot of apologizing. We hear a lot of explaining, I was doing this and then this happened, or I meant to get to that, very reserved. And then by the end of it, to see the smile and those shoulders back, because they've spent, 4 hours listening to every woman in that room validate them. And that is like night and day. And so then we can see, not only is it cool to see, the before, what the kitchen looked like, and after what the kitchen looks like. Those are always fun to see. Yes. But the women themselves, that's what's the coolest part. And we watch friendships bloom between volunteers and the women we help. We watch the women we help come back as volunteers. And like, that's really the essence of what we're doing, because it's not, in our eyes, it's not, women who help and women who get help. The idea is like, in this moment, this is who we're helping. She needs our help. And then in another moment, maybe it's someone else, but right now, this is what we're doing. We're gathering around her. And so, that's just one of the coolest things to see.
Feeling good inside and out is so important to me. And that's why I love shopping eCosmetics. They offer the best in beauty from all of the top brands with great prices, free shipping, and 100% satisfaction guaranteed. It's my go-to for everything beauty. Head over to ecosmetics.com and use my code SAVVY25, that's SAVVY25 at checkout to get 25% off your purchase. Hey, travel lovers, it's Melissa. Traveling with my family to explore new cultures brings me so much joy. And all business class travel can make it even better with their top-notch personalized service. Use promo code SAVVY, that's SAVVY, to get complimentary Black Car Airport transfers. All business class travel makes it easy to focus on what really matters, cherished memories. Visit allbusinessclass.com and start planning your next incredible journey. Yeah, I like how it also crosses economic lines. Like, you don't have to be, some have, some economic hardships, but it really is for any woman who just is struggling. And so it just kind of goes to show that we're all the same in that way.
Absolutely. We've helped women who are on totally different sides of the spectrum in all kinds of ways. We help women with kids, without kids, elderly women. There's not to say that only a specific time in your life is hard. Being a woman is pretty difficult from the start to the end. So.
Yes. There's a lot. There's a
lot that happens, whether you have children or not. Like, being a mom is definitely rough, but like the whole thing is pretty hard. Yeah. And so, that, and then also like, we've helped women who, from the outside, you'd be like, why couldn't you just hire someone? You look like you could afford it. We have people who have family in the area who don't have the help, even though their family's in the area, because there's that fear of judgment. If you hire someone, if you bring your family into it, there's that fear that they are going to judge you either right to your face or behind your back, or, so that's the difference between those things. And that's why, like, it really doesn't matter where you are financially or where you are in your point of life. Sometimes you just need support.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, absolutely. So where do you see Hot Mess Express in 5 years and the podcast?
Well, we're in the process of going to Canada. We're looking at getting Hot Mess in Canada. So
love it. Okay.
So we're going to be growing outside of the U.S., which is really exciting.
That's exciting.
But like, my overall goal is I want us to be where we're accessible to all women. This is something I think should just be the standard. I think this should just be the norm. I hope that when people hear this, even if they don't get involved with Hot Mess, like, they're encouraged to be that person for someone else. Because, even if it's just your best friend and you stop over and like I said, you're just like, I'm going to do this thing for you. Those little acts of kindness are so, so important and do way more than I think people realize. So I hope that that's what we're spreading with it. But I would love to be accessible for everyone, and really just shift that idea that like there's something wrong with asking for help. That's our ultimate goal. Like it is okay. We really focus on encouraging people to nominate themselves, because
I love that.
we want you to do that. Like ask for the help you need,
Yes. Yes. I think we should all practice that.
Myself included.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, I think practicing that would just be so great. Like, because I don't ask for help that often. And I mean, to my best friends now, but in general, we try to make it look, or I do, that, I can do everything when none of us can. So just everyone listening, none of us can.
None of us can. We're all struggling. I promise.
Yeah. Yes. We promise. So we promise. And in terms of the podcast, having this platform for women to come and listen, and can you talk about the subjects? I know it is about bringing women together and, your girls' nights. Can you talk about these girls' nights and what you hope that does for your listeners and your guests?
Yeah. I mean, the way I shape it is like the ultimate girls' night. When I think of a girls' night, I want to feel validated. I want to laugh. I want to, have like inside jokes, and I want to be dumb and silly and all of the things. And I want to complain, I want to complain about things that I'm upset about, even if like, I know I shouldn't be upset. Like I still want to complain about it. And that's what a girlfriend is there for,
Yes. Yes.
Right. And so, some of the things we talked about, like one of the biggest things is mom guilt. We talk a lot about that. Mom guilt is something that I feel like resonates with every mother. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves. And so we talk about that. And I think hearing other women talk about how they're going through that as well, but then also reminding you that you should not be carrying that guilt, and kind of talking through that. That's been a really big one. And also just the struggles of the daily life, things, cleaning your house, it's very repetitive. It can get very isolating. And, that's a lot to be kind of what you had spoke on in the beginning, how we moved away from community. And so we talk a lot about that too, that it's you, if you're feeling that, it's not you personally, we're all feeling that. We've kind of, especially after with COVID and all of that kind of happened, I feel like we really started to isolate more and more. And so I love to talk about that and just reassure people that we kind of all are feeling like that and fighting to bring, community back.
Yeah, I love those topics. And what's something you learned or like helpful tips about mom guilt? Because I'll tell you, I have mom guilt all of the time. I feel like I can never do enough for the kids or do enough for my husband or do enough for the house or my podcast or whatever. So it's like wherever you're putting your energy, you feel guilty, you're not putting it somewhere else. Have you learned some, good tips or advice around mom guilt over your time on the podcast?
One of the things I've learned is talking to people with older children who have left the home. And that's part of like why we need to talk to women, right? Yes. Like you need to talk to all the generations of women. And the older generation will tell you that they also felt like that and their kids turned out fine. Yeah. And that's what I needed to hear. I needed to hear my kids are actually going to hate me. They're not going to look back and only think about, I remember this one time I really wanted to play, but my mom was recording her podcast, But that's what I think all the time. And so then hearing that, and then they're like, my kids are grown, and they sit here and talk about our family vacation. And they talk about that time I was sitting on the couch and they snuggled up and read a book. They remember those things. And so we like to focus on the negatives, and we like to focus really specifically on what we're not doing. And if we kind of turn our mindset to start thinking about all the things we are doing, that's a long list. Yes. That is a very long list.
Yes. It goes on and on.
It does. So when you start thinking, you're like, wow, I do this and that and this. I'm actually a pretty good mom.
Yeah, I am a pretty good mom. Yeah. No, I am. No, I love that advice. I really do love that advice because I love my older friends, and I love when I can be vulnerable with them and they laugh and they're like, no, your son is going to be just fine. Like, he's going to go to college, or he's going to, figure out school or whatever. Yeah. and I'm going down the rabbit hole of crazy. Like, it's because of me. I'm not there, or I didn't.
And just hearing that like other people are doing that, just knowing that every other mom out there is sitting there questioning every choice they make, all the things. It's like that alone is reassuring. You're like, okay, this is just being a mom. This is kind of what it is. It's not because I'm a bad mom. It's just because this is what being a mom is.
No, absolutely. And I also think our friends can see us from the outside. Like, we hold ourselves and our children to like such a high standard, but then people from the outside look at us and they're like, you have beautiful children and they're good people and you're a good person. And I'm like, really? I hope so.
Exactly.
Because we're a little skewed with all the things that we have to be thinking about and all the guilt and all the things. So our friends are there to kind of be a mirror of the goodness that we're trying to put out into the world.
Exactly. They pump you up and remind you of all the positive things. And that's exactly it. There was a TikTok trend that was going around where they were like, what you see in my house. And it's this beautiful house. And then they're like, what I see. And it's like the chipped paint on this and, this like dirty thing over here and stuff. And it's the same, I think, idea with motherhood and with how we view ourselves is we are so quick to focus on those little imperfections and being surrounded with supportive women who see the other stuff and they see that beautiful side and they remind you of that is so important.
Oh, I mean, I absolutely agree. I think even though there's a place for social media, I feel like for women, it's also held us to this beauty standard or this standard of, how we're supposed to act and be. And so I think the best of friends are there to show you how beautiful you are inside and out,
Absolutely.
Hey friends, it's Melissa. I want to talk to you about something that has been life-changing for me, therapy. I've personally used therapy, and I can tell you firsthand how powerful it is to have someone in your corner guiding you through life's challenges. That's why I'm proud that today's sponsor is BetterHelp, an online therapy service that makes it easy to get the help you or your family needs from the comfort of your own home. Whether you're struggling with stress, anxiety, or just need someone to talk to, BetterHelp is here for you. And for listeners of the Savvy Giving Gal podcast, you'll get 10% off your first month of therapy when you use our link in the description. Take that step towards a healthier you because you're worth it. Visit betterhelp.com/savvy to get started today. So, I've loved having you on the podcast. And as our time comes to an end, I like to ask my guests these final 3 questions. So first, Brittinie, what does it mean to you to be a community change maker?
To me, it means doing the actual thing, getting your hands dirty and going out and doing the thing. I know it's easy, like I said, it's easy to talk about it. And it's great to offer words of support. But I think doing the actual work is really what is making those changes.
Yeah, I've always encouraged the people around me to find a place that you feel passionate about and go and volunteer, do the thing. Like, don't just give the money, which is important too. We all need to be funded as nonprofits, out there in the world, but go and spend time and do the thing because it really will bring you such a different level of joy in your life. So thank you for being the kind of person who provides that opportunity to women, but everyone really. So how do you think helping others has improved your well-being?
Oh, I think before like Hot Mess and to where I am now, I was that woman who was very ashamed. I cleaned my house every time someone came over. I apologized for all of the things, like, oh my gosh, God forbid, it looks like we live here.
Right.
And by helping other women and seeing their homes and seeing the state of how they live and how things fall behind for them and stuff, it has just completely changed me and how I view it. And I look at it so differently that as women, like we are worth so much more and our value is so much beyond how well our house looks and how, put together we appear. So that's been the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, I think that there's so much value inside of us, and you need people around you like you to kind of show you that. So, and we do feel our best when we're helping the people around
Absolutely.
us, so can you suggest one small act of kindness that our listeners can incorporate in their daily lives?
Yeah, I think I think checking in on your fellow women. I think that even the ones that look really put together and look like they have no problems, and you come over and their house is sparkling because they probably just cleaned it because you were coming over. Yeah. And all of those things, I promise you, though, they also need some support and reaching out and seeing how you can physically come and do something like what can you take off of their plate, and checking in with them and seeing how they're doing and being like, it looks like everything is really great, but like, you also have 3 kids. Are you sure you're okay?
Right. Like I got you,
Exactly.
like,
and just opening that up so that they can vent and let it out and talk about it. And, meeting them with no judgment.
Yeah, I love that. I think we all probably have an experience where we've reached out to someone and we're surprised at the response that we get and how much help they actually need or support, and absolutely. So that could just change the whole course of their day, their week, their year, their life. And that's what you're doing by cleaning their space and showing them how much love that your organization has for them. So finally, where can our listeners connect with you and Hot Mess Express and Girl Same?
Yeah. So Girl Same is on all the things on Apple and Spotify and all that. And then Hot Mess Express, if you go to hotmessexpress.co, everything is on there. You can find all of our groups around the country. You can join a group by volunteering. You can ask for help on there. And if if it really speaks to you and you want to get it going in your area, you can do that as well on there. And like I said, we come with a lot of support, and it's all about, joining our own village over here and stuff. So I really encourage getting involved. I have yet to hear anybody not find anything bad about it. It's always been such a positive experience. So
yeah, it sounds amazing. Brittinie, thank you for everything that you do. And thank you so much for taking the time to be on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it so much.
I loved it.
Coming to fill up my cup.
Thank you for listening to the show. I hope it sparks a desire in you to dedicate even a small slice of your life to uplifting others. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. Follow me on Instagram at SavvyGivingGal. You can also visit my website at SavvyGivingGal.com. Let's spread positivity together.